Hi sisters. Ew. How come when I say it, it sounds gross, but when he says it, it's like super easy breezy beautiful. Hey guys, it's Ivory. Welcome to my channel. So today I have such an exciting video. If you read the title, then you know that I am one of the 8 winners of James Charles's Giveaslays. I have a feeling this is going to be a longer video because I am doing a lot of things in it. I asked you guys if you wanted me to do an unboxing and a tutorial separately, or if you wanted me to bunch it all together, and you guys said that you wanted it all in one. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is my experience, how I won, what I did, and my conversation with James. The second thing I want to do is unbox what I actually got and show you guys what was in the actual giveaway. And the last thing I want to do is give you a tutorial and a demo of the palette and the brushes. I did use them today to create this look that is on my face. And I also want to thank James himself, if he even watches this video, maybe not, I don't know. Thank you so much for picking me as one of the winners. I am so grateful, and I want to congratulate you on this amazing collaboration with Morphe. He did an amazing job, and I do not doubt that his heart and soul went into this. So let's actually talk about how I won and what happened. So first off, I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea that there was a giveaway. As a beauty channel, of course, I'm subscribed and watch a ton of beauty channels all the time. So I'm an avid commenter on James Charles's videos. I'm not a super spammy person. I'll put 1 or 2 comments and that's about it. And I never comment on his pictures. I like them, or sometimes I just look at them. I know one of the rules in his giveaway was that you had to follow him on all the social media. I don't have a Snapchat, so I wasn't following him on Snapchat, but everything that I did have, like Instagram, I was following him on that. But really the only way that I was connecting to him was watching his videos and leaving a comment. So I'm actually the first winner of his giveaways. So when he announced there was a winner, keep in mind, I did not know that there was a giveaway. I was going through my Instagram and then I got a notification that James Charles liked one of my posts. And I was like, that's odd. So I actually screenshotted that notification that he liked one of my posts, and I put it in my story and was like, oh my God, James Charles liked one of my posts, how exciting. And I didn't know I won yet. Like, I was just excited that he liked one of my posts and I was even on his radar. And then all of a sudden, all of these people started following me and liking all my posts, and I was like, did I get discovered? What is happening here? And some nice stranger was kind enough to screenshot his description box for that video of that day and showed me that I was in his description box as a winner of one of his giveaways. And that's when I freaked out. I'm gonna admit, it took me like 15 minutes to realize that I actually won anything, and him liking my post was actually him like trying to like flag me down, like, yo girl, I'm trying to get your attention, you won something, hello. Everything finally clicked, and then I went back to that video. I had already commented on it, and I added another comment, and I was like, oh my God, I am the winner in your giveaway. That is my name in your description box. I cannot believe it. And he commented back and was like, check your DMs, girl. And sure enough, he had already messaged me, and this is the conversation. Hi beautiful, congratulations, ha 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 ha, and happy holidays. Please send me your address. You are a winner of one of my giveaways. And of course I replied, oh my God, thank you so much. Will you also autograph the palette? It would mean so much to me. And then I gave him my address. And then I said, thank you again so much for this, James. I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I am so thankful for you and proud of you. And then he replied and said, sending out. Yes, I will, beautiful. To which I replied and said, thank you so much. I can't wait. Have a great weekend, James. And he just liked it. Like, he was done talking to me. And that's totally fine. I'm a nobody. That was over 2 weeks ago. Actually, tomorrow will be 3 weeks since I talked to him. So it took a while to get here, but it is finally here. And now I want to show you what I actually got. So the first thing I got was a hoodie from Sister Apparel. It is just black and says the word sisters in rainbow. So this is what the hoodie looks like on me. I could probably get away with not wearing pants. I mean, it would look a little hoochie, but like nothing would be coming out. I also would like to explain that I am 4'11", so I'm a small girl. So for anybody else, this might be normal for you, but this is big on me. The sleeves are also really long. I feel like Dopey, you know, when he's like walking. It has a nice pocket so you could put your hands in it and keep warm. Got a hood if you're, you know, you feel like you want to be in a rap battle. You know, if you feel like you're having a Slim Shady moment. This is actually really warm. It's super cozy. The inside is very soft. It's just a little big, that's all. In my opinion, I think it's better to be a little bit too big versus not big enough, and then you have to deal with me and all of my wobbly bits. So I spared you, you're welcome. The next thing I got is a 2018 MacBook Air. I can't believe this is included. But my favorite part has to be the Morphe times James Charles PR box. I think there might have been a little bit of water damage because there's some crinkling here, but it is just this beautiful, sleek black box. It is very heavy. You can substitute your weights for this. I mean, this is a big girl, okay? She thickums. Inside, first of all, okay, so it has like this tissue paper and it has his face, and look at his face. He has no makeup, makeup, no makeup, makeup. Like, how amazing is that? No makeup, makeup, no makeup, makeup. Is it just me, or does anybody else not see James Charles? Whenever I look at the signature, I see James Chanel. Cause like the E, there's no loop for the E, and the X is just like perfectly on top, so it just looks like an I. And then just the tail of the S makes it look like an O, so I don't see James Charles, I see James Chanel. And then inside you will see both the eyeshadow palette as well as the brush tubby. So first off, we have the brush set that he created. Some of these he created himself and the others were already provided by Morphe, so he just added them into the collection. I did use a couple of them, that's why they're not clean. So these are all the brushes that are included, and you get a sponge that comes with it. Each of the brushes was individually packed and then put into this baggie. I just took them out so that you guys could see each of them. And then of course the cherry on top, the Morphe X James Charles palette. This is what it looks like. I have dipped into it because I filmed my eye look first before I did this. It does come with this plastic so that you could see all the names. I really wish Morphe would put the names under each of the shades. I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, I do know why they don't do that. It's money saving. So what I did is I taped it at the top so that I could just refer to the shades and just kind of memorize them. I asked him when I talked to him privately for his autograph. I don't know if he just thought this was good enough, like he already signed the palette so that he doesn't have to re-sign it, but I don't see anywhere that he actually wrote an autograph personally for me. I'm not mad about it, I'm just saying, like, I did ask for an autograph. So that is everything I got in the Giveaslay. I'm super excited. Okay, so now that everything is out of the way, let's actually talk about the palette. Since I have used the palette already on my eyes as well as the highlighter, I do have some opinions on it. First off, I want to say, for the most part, I would say that this is a completed palette. The only thing that I was missing, that I was looking for, and then I realized wasn't in this palette, is a frosty white. You have a matte white here, but there is no frosty white. So I thought that would have been nice to have. The second thing I wanted to say is I know all of these shades are bigger than the rest of the shades because these are the shades you're going to be using most often. But if I'm going to be realistic, I feel like having a huge pan of black isn't necessary. If you have a very pigmented black, then you really only need to use it in small doses. Like, I don't use a lot of black. Even if I'm going for a predominantly black eye look, I don't use that much black because if it's super pigmented, a little bit goes a long way. I actually would have preferred if maybe this dark brown and this black were switched, because I feel like I would use this dark brown more than I would use black. I think for what he was trying to accomplish, which is that these first two rows are for like an everyday type of look, and then the bottom rows are for people that are wanting to dabble into color. I think this is as complete as it can be. I do feel like he really thought this out. The layout I think is amazing. I like the idea of having bigger pans for the more commonly used shadows. I'm gonna say it right now, I do think that this is worth your money. I think that the pigmentation and the quality worked great. Some of you are gonna say, well, yeah, because you got it for free. If you go to my other videos, there are times where I get things for free and I still give them a bad review. So don't think just because I got this in a giveaway means that I won't tell you the truth or omit anything from you. If I have an issue with something, you're gonna hear about it. So that is pretty much my first impressions of the palette. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into the tutorial. All right, so when his video came out about the release of his palette, I did go ahead and watch it. I know for a fact that James said the shadows work better when you use an eyeshadow base versus just a concealer. I used a concealer and I set it just because I need a more opaque base. If you have the MAC paint pot, then you really don't need concealer. But on top of the concealer, I did go ahead and use the Urban Decay primer potion. And by having the eye primer on top of the concealer, the shadows blended out just fine. I already did this eye off of camera. So first, going in with a fluffy brush, I am going into the shade Daddy, and I'm going to lightly tap that in. I'm going to first kind of stamp it in and then blend it out. Now, I will be honest, I have have not dealt with pressed pigments before. This is a first for me, but I'm not really having any issues with this. What I typically do with colorful shadows is I like to stamp it first and then blend it. For my other colorful palette, I notice that if I just start blending right away, it takes forever to build up and it just looks pretty patchy. So let that be a lesson, not just for this palette, but as just colorful shadows in general. Next, with a different fluffy brush, I'm going to mix in both B as well as Social Blade, and I'm going to use those two colors to blend out Daddy. And not only am I blending it out on top, but as well as on the sides. I'm using my brushes for the eyes just because I wanted to focus the eyes on just the palette itself, and I want to work with brushes that I know will do a good job, ones that I'm comfortable with and familiar with, but I will use his face brushes to do my entire face. All right, next I'm going to add just a little bit of concealer to the lid and begin to cut the crease. I'm not going to take the concealer all the way. It's going to be about 2/3 of my lid. And then once the concealer is totally down and it's a little tacky, we're not setting it, I am taking a very tiny flat shader brush and I am first going in with the shade Ring Light. It is the second shade of the palette, and I am going to apply it to the inner first third of my lid. And this brush is wet, by the way. And once the first layer is down, I like to go in with my finger and I just like to add a second layer just so that things look really metallic. And then next, with a e.l.f. smudge brush, I am going in with the shade Guac. It is this metallic right here. Metallic or shimmer, I don't know. I don't totally have it down what the difference between the two is, but it's not matte, that's all I know. And I'm gonna lay that right next to Ring Light, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm going to pack it down with a flat shader brush that is wet, and then with the second layer, I'm going to use my finger. And then using the same brush that I just used for Guac, I am going to flip it and use the shade Cape Cod, and I'm gonna pack that to the last third of my lid. And then using Cape Cod, I'm also going to start blending in Guac with it so that they look like a smooth transition. I'm also going to use the same brush that we used for Ring Light, and I'm going to use that to start blending in Ring Light with Guac. I haven't seen too many reviews using this palette, but I have seen some negative ones and some really good ones. I think a lot of the problems with the negative ones is that because some of them are pressed pigments versus eyeshadows, and some people haven't watched his video on how to work with the pressed pigments, it can be challenging to blend out if you don't know how to do it. Also, the base is really important, so people that use a concealer, I've seen quite a few people that say using just a concealer they were getting horrible results, so that could be a factor as well. Next, with the Luxie 243 brush, I am going in with the shade Benny. I am not taking a lot of the shade, but I am going to use that to deepen my outer V, so it's going both in the crease as well as to the base. And then lastly, with a pencil brush, I'm going in with both Ring Light as well as Face. This is a highlighting shade, and with the two together, I am applying this to both the brow bone as well as the inner corner. And that is it for the eyes. I did go ahead and add a white line in the crease as well as some mascara. We're gonna move on to our base now and then later on go back to the lower lash line. For foundation, I'm going in with both the Maybelline Superstay as well as the CoverGirl True Blend Matte Made Foundation. For one side of my face, I'm going in with the Morphe M439. I switch off between using a sponge and a brush for my foundation. Sometimes if I'm feeling super lazy, I'll use a brush. And sometimes I also make the first layer, I use a brush, and then I go in with the second layer using the sponge. So I really don't have a preference. It's really just what mood I'm in. The bristles are quite soft. My only critique with this is I wish the bristles were just a little bit more closely packed together. My current brush is so tightly packed that it just sits at the top and there's no bend to any of the bristles, but this has a little bit of bend, which isn't bad. I'm used to a more dense and tightly packed brush. And then on the other side, I'm going to use the Morphe Beauty Sponge, and I just want to see if I like one or the two better. This is a little harder than what I'm used to. I currently use the Juno & Co. Beauty Sponge, the microfiber one. My one critique about that sponge is the edge of it. It's really hard to get into the sides of my nose, and it's really hard to get like really close to my eye because of the shape that it is. All right, so this is one layer using the sponge. I actually prefer using the sponge over the brush in this case. All right, next for concealer, I'm using the Colourpop No Filter Concealer, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the sponge to blend this out. I always use a sponge to blend out my concealer concealer. Every single time I use a brush, I get those brush strokes and it never looks as good. So we're not even gonna risk it. And with this tip, it's nice that you can get really up close. And then to set my face, I'm using the Coty Airspun, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the same sponge. And I'm gonna set my entire face, not just where the concealer is. I'm going everywhere with this. Next, with the M405 brush, I am going to use this as my contour brush, and I'm going in with the Benefit Hoola bronzer. Now I'm gonna be honest, the brush shape is not great. Like, they're kind of already fraying. You know, sometimes you ruin your brushes when you wash them and they kind of lose their shape. It already kind of looks a little bit like that. And I also feel like this is a little too wispy for a contour. I like something that's pretty dense. The bristles are a little bit too loose for me. So I feel like if you press down too hard, you can really spread the brushes and your contour can look a little bit too big. I know Jaclyn Hill came out with her own brush set, and she also came out with a contour brush. And even though I don't have that brush set at all, just looking at the shape and the density of it, I think a brush like that would have been better as a contour brush versus this one. And then using the brush that James created himself, I'm using the E62 brush, and I'm going to use that to contour my nose. I know he said that this brush was specifically for the nose contour. I don't have anything like this in my collection, and this is a really nice brush to have. I think it hugs really nicely onto the curves, and it like really gets in there. Like, this is a perfect angle and shape. I'm into this. This is a good brush. Next, with the Morphe E4 brush, I'm actually going into the shade Mary, which is like a brownish, reddish matte, but I'm gonna dip into that really lightly, and I'm gonna try and use this as blush. I don't know if I should keep going. I could have sworn he said we could use this for blush. We gotta make it even on both sides. Or maybe it was the color next to it that he said we could use as blush. Ah, crap. Well, we're here, so we're committing. I'm gonna go ahead and go into one of my blushes, actually, just because I feel like I don't really want a super strong blush moment just because the eyes are so bold. I might not be able to go back on this one, guys. We might just have bold eyes, bold cheeks. The blush that I'm using right now is by Milani. It is called Romantic Rose. And then flipping to the flat end, I'm going to use the same sponge to carve out my cheekbones. That was so satisfying. I feel warm inside. That felt amazing. I do not have a sponge that has this sharp of an edge, so this is a really nice side to have. I'm also gonna go ahead and apply this to my nose. And while this is baking, we're gonna move on to the lower lash line. With an e.l.f. eyeliner brush, I am going in with the shade Daddy, and I'm going to use this to tightline my lower lash line. And then using an e.l.f. eye crease brush, I'm going again with the shade B as well as Social Blade. And I'm going to mix the two together, and I am going to blend out Daddy, and I'm going to bring this up top so they connect. And this is the final look, guys, for the eyes at least. The face, we're still working on the face, but for the eyes, they're done. I did go ahead and add some falsies. I am using the Ardell Demi Wispies. I'm also gonna take the Morphe E48 brush, and I think this is for setting, but we're gonna use this to wipe off the bake. And I'm gonna blend that in with the blush because this is a little too bright for me, and mixing the two together will kind of tone down the blush. And then lastly, we're gonna highlight. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I do not highlight. I am very oily, so I don't bother with highlight because in an hour I do get like a nice natural lit from within type of glow. But since James did include a highlighter in his palette, I'm gonna go ahead and use it for today's video. And to apply the highlighter, it's called Face. I am using the Morphe M501 brush, and we're just gonna go for it. I mean, it is very pretty, and I think it would go on a lot of different skin tones. I also want to say that with this highlighter, a little goes a long way because I tapped into it once and then applied it to my face, and it just keeps on going. I'm also gonna take the Morphe M431 and use the same highlighter, and I am going to apply this to the tip of my nose as well as the bridge. All right, and then lastly for lips, I am using the Colourpop Ultra Matte Lip. This is in the shade Friday. It is a black. We're just gonna go for it. We're just gonna do all bolds. But I think this look can handle a dark, dark lip, so we're gonna do that. And this is the completed look. I actually love the way this look all came together. I think the eyes look great. They blended out wonderfully. The highlight is beautiful. A little bit goes a long way. Of the colors that I used, I gotta say, I think that they performed wonderfully. I had no problems with blending. The pigment showed up very quickly, very buildable. I didn't have any skipping issues. I would say it's beginner friendly if you watch his video. If you don't and you just go into it thinking that you could just blend things away, I feel like you might have a little bit of trouble. But I do think that this was a wonderfully done palette, and I definitely want to create more looks with this. So let me know in the comments below what other types of colors you want me to incorporate in my other looks. As far as the brushes, I only used a couple. I didn't use all of them. I thought the sponge was really nice, especially this flat edge side. I thought that was really great for just getting up there and carving out my contour. The foundation brush, I mean, I prefer using a sponge in this case. The bristles are really nice, very soft. A couple things, I'm gonna use his palette as the background. I don't know if it's super obvious, but some of the brushes kind of come a little bit frayed already. Like the hairs are already sticking out, and actually with this brush, when I was blending it out, a hair came out, so it was like shedding already. Shedding doesn't really happen until a couple months or sometimes even years after using the brush repeatedly. So the fact that it was kind of already shedding doesn't make me super happy. I think my favorite brushes were the nose contour brush. This worked really great. I really liked the blush brush, and I also really liked this highlighting brush. I think this is a really perfect size and shape for this. I also did use the liner brush to create the white line in my crease. This is perfect. This is great for just a super small, precise winged liner, or just creating that line and making it super intricate. And also this tiny pencil brush was great for adding highlight to the tip of my nose and the bridge. Quality or not, I think this is a complete brush set. I think he really thought this through, and I really appreciate that he did multiple of one type of brush. I think that's something that definitely lacks in brush sets. I always get one fluffy brush, one flat shader brush. The fact that I get multiple of each kind, it's genius. I don't know why no one thought of that earlier. So I will give him credit, because I do think that this brush set is pretty much complete. And that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays, and post occasional bonus videos throughout the week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
You never know what's around the next corner. So.